Montana Territory, spring of 1873, the wind came sharp off the Bitterroot Mountains, and by the time Victor Ellis rode into the settlement of Clearwater, dust clung to his coat like old regrets. He had not planned to take a bride. He came for lumber and seed, not vows. But there she was standing alone beside the church house, in a dress 3 winters out of fashion and eyes that held nothing back. Not pain, not pride, nothing. Her name was Rosalind Cade, and no one in Clearwater wanted her. Victor had heard whispers before he saw her. That she had been left at the altar by a man headed west. That her folks died of fever last fall. That she had no dowry, no kin, and no use to any man looking to build a future. Victor dismounted slow, brushing his gloved hand over his horse's neck. "Is the preacher around?" he asked a boy lingering by the well. The boy pointed. "Inside, with her." Victor stepped through the chapel doors and found the preacher at the pulpit, Rosalind on the front pew, hands clasped in her lap. She did not turn when Victor entered. "I need a marriage license," Victor said, quiet but firm. The preacher blinked, then looked at Rosalind. Victor followed his gaze. For her, she turned then. Her eyes widened a little, but she did not speak. The preacher cleared his throat. "You know her?" "No," Victor said. "But I am claiming her all the same." Rosalind stood. "Why?" Victor looked at her, really looked. She was thin but not weak. Her hands bore work. Her cheeks were hollow, but her posture proud. She looked like someone who had survived too many winters alone. He said, "Because I know what it is to be left behind." The preacher hesitated, but Rosalind stepped forward and said, "I will marry you." They signed the license that afternoon. There was no kiss, no family, no supper. Just a dusty trail north, a wagon with supplies, and a woman in a thin wool coat beside a man who did not speak unless he had to. Victor's homestead lay 30 miles out. He had cleared most of the trees himself, built the cabin by hand. It was not much, but it held against the wind and the roof did not leak. He showed her the house without ceremony. "There is one bed," he said. "You take it, I will sleep on the cot." "I can sleep near the fire," she said. Victor shook his head. "Bed is yours." The days came hard and fast after that. Snow melted into mud and the river swelled. Victor planted oats and barley. Rosalind mended the roof, split logs, patched his shirts. She never asked why he had taken her. She never asked anything at all. But she worked every day like she meant to earn the air in her lungs. One night, a storm rolled in. The wind howled through the cracks. Victor lit the lantern and found her sitting on the cot, arms wrapped around her knees. "Storms bother you?" he asked. "No," she said, "just." "Sometimes I wonder if this is real." He sat across from her. "It is. Why me?" Her voice was low, not bitter. "Because no one else saw you." She looked up. "I did." They did not speak again that night, but something shifted. The next morning she made coffee and waited for him to sit before pouring his cup. Weeks passed. Spring warmed the earth. They spoke more, laughed sometimes. He showed her how to saddle a horse. She taught him how to make cornbread without burning it. One morning, while Victor was hauling stone from the creek, Rosalind came running down the trail. "There is a boy," she said, breathless. "2 of them, near the barn." Victor dropped the rope. Together they found the children, one barely walking, the other 8, maybe 9. Both were thin, covered in dust and soot. The older one stepped in front of the small one. "I am Rylan. This is my baby sister, Ruthie. Our ma and pa burned in the cabin south of here. I tried to drag her out, but he stopped." Ruthie clung to his leg. Victor knelt. "You too hungry?" Rylan nodded fast. Rosalind stepped forward and knelt beside Ruthie. "You want to come inside with me? We have stew." The girl blinked, then reached for her. That night they fed the children, washed them, and tucked them into the cot. Victor took the floor. Rosalind sat beside him, back against the wall. "They have no one," she whispered. "Then they stay," Victor said. Rosalind looked at him, eyes wide with something soft and deep. "You mean that?" "I do." She touched his hand. "You are not like other men." He looked at where her fingers rested against his. "Neither are you like other women." Days turned into weeks. Victor built a second room. Rosalind made clothes from old flour sacks. Rylan followed Victor everywhere. Ruthie called Rosalind Mama by the end of June. One evening after supper, Rosalind stood on the porch watching the sunset bleed across the hills. Victor stepped beside her. "I never thought I would find this," she said. "What? Peace. Belonging." Victor reached into his coat and pulled out a small silver band. "I bought this the day after we married. Did not want to give it until I was sure you would stay." Rosalind stared at the ring. "I never planned to love anyone again," Victor said. "But you brought something back I thought was gone." She turned toward him, eyes wet. "Victor." He kissed her then, gentle, sure, both of them steady in the way only people who have lost everything can be. She whispered, "I love you." "I know," he said. "I feel it every day." And when the stars broke through the sky and the children slept in the next room, Rosalind curled against him, warm and safe. Victor Ellis had claimed a bride no one wanted, but in her, he had found a woman who softened every hard trail ahead. And neither of them would ever walk alone again. The first summer rains came early, softening the earth and coaxing wildflowers from the hillsides. Victor stood knee-deep in the rye, testing the stalks between his fingers, while Rylan hunted grasshoppers with a tin pail and Ruthie napped beneath the cottonwood with a doll Rosalind had sewn from scraps. Rosalind had taken to the land with a quiet fluency that surprised even her. She moved through each day with a kind of grace that didn't need announcing, handling the livestock, tending the garden, and caring for the children as though she'd always belonged there. Some nights after the chores were done and the stove cooled, she'd sit with a piece of mending in her lap and hum tunes Victor didn't recognize. He never asked about them. It felt right not to. One afternoon, while Ruthie helped her wash linens in the creek, Rosalind called out to Victor from the bank. "She's limping," she said, nodding toward one of the cows grazing by the fence. Victor crossed the pasture, knelt beside the animal and pressed his palm along her leg. "Stone bruise," he said. "I'll wrap it tonight." Rosalind watched him a moment, then said, "You always know what to do." Victor didn't look up. "I don't, not always." Back at the house, she stood beside the porch as he washed the mud from his hands at the trough. After a long pause, she said, "Ruthie asked if she could call you Papa." Victor dried his hands on his trousers. "What did you tell her?" "I told her to wait until you were ready." He nodded once. "I'd be proud if she did." Rosalind didn't answer, but her hand found his as they walked inside. That evening, Rosalind twisted her hair back with a ribbon Rylan had found tangled in a bush. It was faded blue, frayed at one end, but it caught the lamplight when she turned her head. She baked with a rhythm, now